Our next session, we're going to talk again. We're going to kind of circle back to what it takes to go from a startup to global growth. And we've got a real expert here who's going to help us with that. So I want to welcome to the stage, one chair. Yeah. Sorry. We're going to keep his chair up here for him so he doesn't have to stand the whole time and he can chit-chat with y'all. But please welcome to the stage Rodrigo Barcens, the Chief Financial Officer of Eikon Group.
Thank you so much. Good to go. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Thank you so much for having me, Rebecca, and for the great intro. How's it going? I hope you guys stick around. I have some very interesting stuff to say about what it takes to go from a startup to a global growth, which I define as a journey. If anything, you might get a kick out of the slides. I don't know that they're as good as everybody else before me, so you might get a couple laughs out of it. But basically, to go from startup to a global growth, it's a journey. And every entrepreneur starts on a journey when they decide they want to start a company. Some of us have a little more fear than others when we decide we want to take the plunge, but we all have to take the plunge if you want to be an entrepreneur. So without a doubt, the most fearful thing that I did was I left JP Morgan, a very established company and a great place that had this incredible career roadmap in front of me to start my own company. So where there were performance analysis and quarterly objectives and all these different things, I moved into a white canvas that was for me to fill out. And I always say that there are 4 very important things when you decide you want to start a company if you're going to be lucky enough to make it. The first is a great team. So if you have a chance, walk over to our booth. It's the only shout out I'll make to my company. We're next door. We have a great team of founders and co-founders there. The second one is you got to get lucky. Sometimes things have to bounce your way and you have to take certain things and make sure you shape them to your strengths. The third is you need to learn how to manage your emotions and you need to learn how to manage your clients' expectations to move forward. And then the fourth one is you actually just got to do it. You got to take the plunge and jump. So my presentation will have 3 segments. The first is mostly talking about this. The second is how does this framework fit into an ever-evolving technological world like we're in today with wonderful companies everywhere. And then the third one is the final one. What's the most important financial statement that you need to look at in order to go from a startup to global growth? And so without a doubt, let's start. So I call it KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right? We go from startup to global growth by starting this journey. And so I'm not sure if you guys have ever played SimCity. Some of you have, some of you haven't, but basically you could build this entire city to your own beckon, whatever you wanted. You could do an industrial area here, a residential area over there. You do whatever you want. You can put a lake in the middle. Starting a business is very similar. It's up to you to determine where it is you want this business to go, how it'll grow, and what those metrics will be. And so it's up to you to start creating the construct of what's important to you and what's important to your company and how that construct is going to be laid out for everything that you're going to do. So starting a business is like a roller coaster. One day, you're at the top of the world. You think you got it all figured out. You just closed a great round of clients. You just got some money. And then the very next moment, you get an email from one who's pissed. And there you go. You're at the bottom. You're in the deepest valley, right? And so you have to be able to manage this. I spoke about the 4 things that it takes. Really, number 3 is incredibly important. As the manager or as the CFO and as an executive in a company, people look to you for leadership. And you need to be able to manage those emotions and you need to channel them accordingly. So you need to understand that the construct and the things that you build around you are based on your pre-existing beliefs. They're based on, what made you successful. They're based on, I used to work at JP Morgan so I can be the CFO. And I got there and they said, here's the cash flow statement, here's the balance sheet. And I said, whoa. They didn't teach me any of this at JP Morgan. I was talking to clients. We were raising money. We were putting them into all sorts of financial products. What do you mean? So you have to be able to manage that and say, well, can I actually move forward or not, right? And so from there starts the largest source of stress, the unknown, the not knowing what's next, the discontent, the dissatisfaction, right? The anxiety. Everybody suffers it, but nobody likes to talk about it, right? And so where does all of this stem from? It stems from the delta. What is the delta? The difference between who you are today and who you wish to be or become tomorrow. right? So the guy who jumped from JP Morgan and thought I could be the CFO got there, and he had no idea what a lot of those financial statements were. And so that's me at the beginning. Maybe I was a little out of shape and I wanted to do something, and it's also personal. Maybe you want to evolve to do something else. You want to get in shape, right? And that progress, that journey is very long, and it's every day, and it's about being consistent and being constant about it. And so the delta is both in your personal life as it is in your professional life. So some of us work all day and we wish to work very hard to become who we are, but sometimes the rewards are very far out and they're uncertain and we don't know if we're gonna make them or not. And so this delta starts to creep into your construct. Am I good enough? Can I do it? Will I be successful, right? Can we go from startup to global growth? Can we do anything in this journey? Am I the right person for this or not? And so what you need to do is you need to start attacking that day by day, slowly. And so what I'm gonna tell you for the rest of this speech has already been spoken about for millions of years, probably from people far older, far wiser, and definitely far richer than I am. And it's progress equals happiness, you know, and this is a Tony Robbins mantra and plenty of other people who believe in this, but there's truth behind it. So the mountain may seem insurmountable at first, but you gotta start picking away at it. And you gotta start taking it one step at a time, you know? So happiness isn't a destination, it's meaningful progress towards that goal. It's don't worry about where you are, it's focus on where you're headed, even if sometimes it's uncertain, right? It's about the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And Phil Knight, just do it, right? So that's number 4, you gotta just take the plunge. So you guys have all heard this isn't groundbreaking, but it's a framework that we all live through, whether it be personal or professional, right? It's how do you get up out of bed when you've had bad news? You gotta start picking away at it. You gotta pick yourself up. And in the professional side, nobody likes to talk about this. Nobody likes to ask for help. Nobody likes to say that they might not be qualified to be doing the things that they're doing. And what you need to do is continue to learn every day, you know, and make it a point to better yourself and to do that and to take that progress. So without a doubt, remember to KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. You may not have all the answers today. You may not have them tomorrow. But if you work hard enough and you surround yourself with a great team, you can come up with it together. The worst part is, you see this all day. So-and-so raises 100 million. So-and-so sells for 413 million. 400 million in venture capital, right? Blockchain, 12 million, turned $100 into $125 million. And so this starts to creep in. And you say, wow, I'm still so far away from where I wanna be. And these people are just endlessly giving you headlines. What you don't see behind all these headlines is the fear, the endless nights, the worry that all of these entrepreneurs had to go to get to the stage that they're currently in, right? And so you have to remember to keep it simple. Keep working towards your goal. You understand that there will always be headlines, but you don't see what's behind them. So don't let these things slow you down, you know? Because what happens is sometimes you start to achieve some of those goals, but then you move who you want to be forward, right? So right now, you finally maybe did it, certain aspects, but then you want to be this guy, or you want to be this guy, right? Because you think you can do it. The construct starts to breed more success because success leads to confidence, and confidence leads to more success. And we have to remember that our failures and our inadequacies are only lack of experiences or certain things that just didn't go your way. You got to be lucky. And so you can't let those things slow you down. But remember that the construct is yours. Just because things evolve, you have to remember and be grateful for everything that you've already done. So when I look at our company that we started in 2014 to the company that we have today, we've climbed the mountain. And sometimes we don't realize it until you start to look back. And you think, wow, from that first time that they asked me to make a cash flow and I had no idea to what I was doing, to being completely second nature and just doing these all day and not even having to worry about it. The assumptions that were assumptions are now realities. And you know, it's important to remember that. It's important that it's a mountain that you've climbed and you gotta look back and be grateful for what you've done. And even if you set new goals, don't let that bring you down, right? So I like this quote a lot. It says, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. To me, the serenity, let go. You're not where you are, let go. Work towards it. Get better every day. The courage to change the things I can, fight, get up. It didn't work out. You messed up that cash flow, you messed that up. Do it again, learn from it, Why was last month's better than or worse than this month's, right? What are the things that we need to change? And then the wisdom, the knowledge, the ability to know the difference, the ability to know that even against all odds, you need to keep going. And so I like this quote a lot. But since we are at Emerge and you guys didn't come here for a cheap Tony Robbins conference, I figured it's important that we need to talk about how emotions also come into an evolving landscape of technology, right? And so what's really coming up is the rise of the machines. So right now we do programmatic digital marketing and we use artificial intelligence to feed a lot of the decision making that we take. It's much faster, much more accurate, and much better than what we can do on a normal basis. But in our industry and in other industries, it's the same thing. Children shouldn't learn to code. Ultimately, machines will be better, right? You want to put a robot trader and you want to trade your portfolio, they can do it for you today. Artificial intelligence and tech is evolving the recruiting. That's HR, right? Radically transforming business. Next revolution in customer service, in hospitals. So machines are getting smarter and smarter and smarter every day. And the barriers to entry into businesses and the competitive advantages that you have between you and your competitors today will dissipate with time as machines start to work and do a lot of the stuff that we do. Maybe they'll check my email one day and it'll give me a little bit more free time. That's what I'm hoping for. But nonetheless, the rise of the machines puts us in a very interesting moment in humanity. I think when people look back, it's sort of a renaissance, but it's a technological revolution, right? And so as these barriers start to break down, what separates us? What separates us as competitors, as entrepreneurs, as business people from the rest of the people? And so I call it our emotional intelligence. And it feeds right into what we were just talking about, right? The framework of having this emotional intelligence and understanding whether you can or cannot do something. And so, the emotional intelligence will separate us from our customers, from our competitors, because it's up to us to determine what our advantage is. We need to keep learning, we need to keep growing, but the people on the other side of the table have the same vulnerabilities as you. They might not admit it, they might not be the first ones to raise their hands and say, I might be inadequate for my position, but a lot of them feel it. And this isn't only on the professional side, it's on the personal side. How many people get caught up in trying to be better parents, right? They want to make it to all their kids' events, but they can't. So all these time constraints lead us to certain vulnerabilities that we all suffer from. And so it's up to us to foster that emotional intelligence and understand that the people that we deal with are suffering from the same vulnerabilities that we are. And we need to use that to our advantage in terms of how EI can work with AI in the future. And then lastly, I told you I had 3 segments. I'm almost done. I'm going to the third one. And that's about what is the most important financial statement that we all need to look at. Since I am the CFO of the company, and we've talked a little bit about emotions, a company can't start up, it can't grow, it can't expand, it can't go anywhere it needs to go if it doesn't have one thing, cash, okay? So cash is king. Most people are focused on the product. A lot of people are focused on selling. A lot of those things are very important, but you also need to be mindful of how you're collecting your cash and how fast you're doing that. And it fills into the EI. Sometimes you sell, but you got to call your best client and ask him to pay you quickly because you got bills coming due right away. And you got to go ahead and get those paid. So there's a Warren Buffett quote here that says, cash is to a business as oxygen is to an individual. Never thought about when present, but the only thing in mind when absent, right? And so when we went from startup to global growth, we were lucky enough to manage this. And you need to have the emotional intelligence to deal with your partners who might be older than you, who might be more experienced than you, and who might be demanding certain things that you can't give them in that moment, whether it be a raise or a dividend or an expansion. We all have these lofty ideas of what we want our missions and our goals and our constructs to be, but you need to be laser focused with the cash that you have. That is the way that you grow. And that's the reason that we've been able to go from startup to global growth, because we've been mindful of our clients, of the emotional side of what it takes, of managing our expectations, managing our goals, and ultimately managing our cash. So I hope the last 15 minutes weren't totally revolutionary in what you heard, but I hope it at least helps you bring down a little bit of the barrier that we all have here today, looking at these wonderful companies that have groundbreaking technology left and right, but at the end of the day, the people behind that booth are just as excited to talk to you, and they're just as nervous when you get there. And you got to be mindful of that. And I want to give a special shout out to the rest of the entrepreneurs that are out here today. And, I wish you the best of luck on your journey. It's incredibly important that you continue to move forward, and it won't always be sunshine and roses. Sometimes it'll be deep and dark, but you got to remember to just stand up and keep going. So thank you so much.